Cypress reads. So in today's video, we're actually going to do my September wrap up. I had a really good month in September. I read a total of 10 books, which is like, that never happens. Because I'm a very slow reader, and I don't know why this month I read that many books because I didn't have any like days off. Also, September was my birthday month, so I went ham when it came to buying books, clothes, everything. So with our wrap ups, you guys know we always do books, we do movies, and we do what else? Music. So yeah, let's just get started. So for the books. The first book I read in the month of September was a YA, which, it's Meet Me in Mumbai by Sabina Khan. Now, last month I read her book, Zara Hussein is Here. This author, she primarily writes YA. She is an Indian author, and she knows how to tell a story. This actually was not on my, I would say, well, it was on my radar. I knew I was going to buy it because it came out on the 6th of September. But I was like, I'm going to buy it and read it later. I couldn't. This is about a girl that is from India. She's a senior in high school. She comes to America her senior year because she wants to go to a good college. Her parents wanted her to go to a good college. So she comes to America. She's like the only, Indian in her school. And she meets a young boy. I think his name is it Suish? And her name is Asha. And she meets him because he's from Mumbai, and they have a relationship together, and she becomes pregnant, and he has to leave to go back to India because his father is really sick, and she's like, what am I going to do? I can't have this baby because it would be a shame on my family, and I'm supposed to go to college, and, I'm not married, and she's 18. So she says, you know what? I'm just going to give my baby up for adoption. And she does. So her daughter, Myra, is it? Myra. When Myra turns 18, she finds some letters from her birth mother saying, if you can forgive me, please, find that in your heart too. And when you turn 18, if, I'll be waiting for you, if you, come to India and we can, meet up and we can meet each other. And that's the gist of the story. This was so good. I kept on going back and reading passages. This was so good. It read like obviously a YA, but it still had some, I didn't feel like, oh girl, like, sometimes you as an adult, you read like a YA book and it's like, oh, this is just like, I'm too grown for this. This was not. This was so good. Obviously it had, some aspects of, a teenager life or whatever, but it still was so good. She's an author that I've read all of her books. She has 3 books. She's an author that when she comes out with a book, I will be getting because she just knows how to tell a story, and her covers are always bomb. So yeah, this one was good. Next, I did a buddy read with Samaya from GapVisualsOnly. I'll link her channel up. She's an amazing singer. We did a buddy read of this story. It's Destiny's Daughter. She picked it this time, and she picked a really good book. So there's stories by Gwenny Foster, Perry Ebony Satin Brown, and Donna Hill. Yeah, I know, I'm obsessed with Donna Hill right now. This story is about 3 girls that were separated by birth. They had a mother that was she's a teen mom, and she died at childbirth. And so each girl, they get separated at birth. You have the first one, Letitia, I think her name is. That's written by Donna Hill. She's real fast, real loose. She's real streetwise, and she uses that to her advantage. And all these girls, they want to meet each other. And so, yeah, she grew up in like I think a foster home, and her life was real kind of complicated, but again, her being streetwise, she was able to navigate her life. Then you have Jamila, that's written by Perry Ebony Satin Brown. She comes from a real like established family, 2-parent household. She is actually a writer, and she has this book deal. And again, she, just feels so unfulfilled, mainly because, she wants to find, obviously, her sister. She knows that she's been adopted. And so it's like, she just wants that gap filled. And then lastly, you have Carissa, who is a singer. She's a jazz singer. She grew up in, I think, was it foster homes? But again, she's like a really good singer, jazz singer, and she has like this cheating husband, and she actually lives in a small town, and she gets away from him and becomes this big singer. And then you see how it goes with all three women. I really love this book. My favorite was Donna Hill. And after reading this, I said, oh, I want to read a Donna Hill book. And that Donna Hill book was Rhythms. As you guys know, I did a whole reading vlog on it. This is actually on my TBR. And the main reason why, before I ended up reading her, I wanted to read this because it was set in the 1920s. You guys know that's my time. Anything from 1920s, 1930s, I like to read. And then after I read her section from, Destiny's Daughters, I said, yeah, I have to pick this up. So, recap, this is about a woman that, it's a 3-generation story. A woman named Cora Harvey is from the South. She wants to be a singer. Her parents die unexpectedly. She goes to Chicago, doesn't work out. She comes back to Mississippi. She has her daughter. Her daughter is like, I hate this town. I want to get out of here. Her daughter moves to New York. Then her daughter has a daughter named Paris. And then you see how Paris' life goes. This book was just amazing. As you guys know, I ranted and raved about this book in my reading vlog. There is a sequel to this book. I actually ordered it, and I will be reading it. So, yeah. Next is June Jordan, His Own Where. June Jordan actually is known for poetry and essays, and I'm trying to break into that, like in critical analysis and stuff, but I'm a fiction girl. So when I saw that she had, this book, it's a YA book, and it was published in 1971, I was like, I'm going to read it. So it's about a girl named Angela and a boy named Buddy, and they come from Angela's household is real chaotic. And she gets moved to a like a girls' school because her mom's kind of abusive, and they decide to run away. Buddy and Angela, they decide to run away, with each other, and you see like how it goes. It was a really cute story. I honestly loved it. So yeah, it was only 90 pages. It was a really quick read. June Jordan is known, obviously, like I said, for her poetry. So usually poets, they know how to write, and she did a really good job. So this, and also too, this edition has an introduction by Sapphire. Sapphire is the one that wrote Precious. So yeah, I really like this book. It was a really good read. Next was Dorothys Stretch. I always get her last name wrong. Olivia. It's in the Penguin Classic Edition. You guys know I love this. This is a book about, it was set in 1949. It was published anonymously. It's basically about a girl that is in love with her headmistress. It's like an early take on like an LGBTQ book, but it's way tamed. And this was like a this was like a little scandal when it came out, because that just was like, foreign. So yeah, it's about, like I said, a young girl that's like 16 years old. She falls in love with her headmistress, and she just like in awe with that lady, and you see how it goes. And it was really good. This is a really quick read. It was only 100 pages. I said it before, there's a movie. I watched the movie. It was kind of boring, but I wanted to see what it was about. It's in French, but of course you can have the subtitles. But overall, it really was good. Next, I read James Watton Johnson. This is the autobiography of an ex-colored man. This was published in 1912. It actually is published anonymously. And then it got a resurgence in 1927. There was a reissue, mainly because you guys know in 1920s, 1930s, they talked about passing and race relations, and that was a big deal. And James Watton Johnson actually is from the Harlem Renaissance. So this talks about a young man that is really gifted in music, and because he is Black, there are some hurdles in his life, clearly. And he decides to pass. And you see, you see his whole life. You see how he gets married and everything like that. This is a story. It's a fictional autobiography. So the character is fictional, but he's telling his life. So I thought that was real, kind of fascinating. James Watton Johnson was a brilliant author. This is the only book he wrote. He is actually a poet and a composer. You guys know the Black National Anthem, Lift Up Your Voice and Sing. He co-wrote that. So of course, because he is a songwriter, a poet, you already know, I always say they can write well. And this was a prime example. You understood why he did what he did, and especially during that time. It was just the inconvenience of being Black, unfortunately. So yeah, this was a really good book. It also had some other writings. This is a Barnes and Noble classic. I actually like their editions because usually they're cheap. And then also too, they'll have the book, but they also have other selections, other writings, and this did. So yeah, guys, pick this up if you haven't. It's a really good book. Not a lot of people talk about it. You guys know it's up my alley. And yeah, it makes you think. It honestly does. So next, I read Intishaki Strange, Cypress, Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. I always get those wrong. I don't know why I always want to say Cypress, but yeah. So Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. This book was just amazing. It's about three sisters and their mother. Their mother is really like navigating the story, and she's writing letters to each one of her daughters. You have Sassafras, who is a weaver like her mother. You have Cypress, who is a dancer, and then you have Indigo, who is a baby. She is a girl. How do they describe it? She plays with dolls, and they say that she has too much South in her. This book was just fantastic. Intishaki is you can't put her in a box, like I've said it before. This book has poetry, it has recipes, it has like mini short stories. It just has everything in one book. She just was an amazing writer. She's known for Color Girls, which is also fantastic. But yeah, I really wanted to read another work by her, and I picked this up and it was on my TBR. So yeah. Next, I read a nonfiction, which is also on my TBR, Three Mothers by Anna Malika Tubbs. This was fantastic. It talked about James Baldwin's mother. It talked about Martin Luther King's mother, and it talked about Malcolm X's mother. So obviously, it talked about their mothers, but it also talked about motherhood in general, Black motherhood. They have this thing where Black women, they can take more pain and all that. No, they can't. And also too, you have these doctors that are not believing these mothers, like, I'm in pain. Oh no, you can take it. Like, we lying about it. No. So she talks about motherhood. She talks about birth. She just talks about everything when it comes, with that. These three women were amazing. I just knew a little bit. I didn't know anything about, is it Berdis, which is James Baldwin's mother. And only thing I knew about Martin Luther King's mother, Alberta, was she was actually murdered. They were in the church, in their church, and a Black individual, shot, and he ended up shooting her. And then I knew a tiny bit about Louise, which is Malcolm X's mother. I knew that she was in a asylum or like a mental institution, but she was in a mental institution for over 20 years. And also too, I didn't know that all the mothers were alive when their sons were passed. So of course you have Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were assassinated, and then James Baldwin, he died of stomach cancer, I believe, in the 80s. But this was so good. Oh, it was a particular story that she referenced. There was a woman that, how did it go? Her husband, I think it was during the South, there was like a plantation owner that was that got murdered, and they were just blaming all these black men, and one like blaming them and like putting them in jail. And her husband, they put her husband in jail, and she protested. She had a little baby, and she was pregnant at the time. Because she protested, the way they killed that woman, they flipped her upside down and they cut her stomach open. And she was about 19 or 20 years old. So she uses references like that. Just heartbreaking. I mean, this was such an amazing story. I can't talk about it enough. Fun fact, actually Martin, his first name was not Martin. It actually was Michael. And then they changed it, because his dad's dad wanted him to be named after him. So I was like, I didn't know that Martin Luther King's name actually was Michael. So yeah, guys, get into this. This was fantastic. And then 2 audiobooks I read or listened to. The Trophy Wife by Ashley Antoinette. I'm outdone. I love Ashley Antoinette. Obviously, you guys know I did a whole review on the Ethics series, and girl, this author, she does not have a problem killing women. Oh, that bothers me, Lord. And this story, I was just like, it was such a good story, because I like stories where women are like kind of battered. But this one, I'm like, dang, like, it was no happy ending at all. I don't want to give it away because it's a big spoiler, but I was just so outdone. I'm like, come on now. You could at least kept that person alive. If y'all read this, you know what I'm talking about. I was so frustrated, but it still was a really good book. And then I read Just One Night, the Kingston Family series. This is by is it Carly Phillips, I think. It's actually a white author. It was recommended because with Audible, they have like the recommendations if you've read like a similar book. This is kind of like a romance / erotica. Well, I would say romance. It was really good. It's about obviously about the Kingston family. They are really rich and established, and you have I forgot that girl's name. Jordan, who is the assistant to, I forgot that man's name too. She's an assistant to, I forgot that boy's name. But they've known each other for years, and they get together and they realize, oh, this was a mistake kind of thing. And you just see how it goes. It was really good. This is the first time I actually have read a romance by a white author, and it was actually good. I'm not even gonna front. It was good. They write a little different than us. Some words that they use when it describes a man is different, but it still was really good. You guys know I love romance, books, and yeah, and also too the narrating, that was real good too, because sometimes that could be a make or break. If I don't like the narrating, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not reading this. So yeah, that one was really good. So yeah, that's all I read. Now let's get to music. Okay, so I still haven't done a whole album like I usually do, listen to a whole catalog, but again, I did individual songs. So the first artist I listened to was Monica. Y'all know Monica. I listened to Alone in Your Heart, which is from the Code Red album. It's so good. I was actually rewatching the Monica and Brandy verses, and she had done like a song from that album. I'm like, let me check that out. So yeah. Next I listened to Genuine, Same OG. I feel like I heard that song, but then I'm like, it had been such a long time, and I watched the video because I'm a person I still watch videos, and I mean, Genuine, come on now, it's just, he is so pretty, Genuine, and he's still pretty, okay, and then he can sing too, and he can dance. That's all you need. So yeah, same OG. I was listening to that. Next, I listened to Vanessa Williams' Work to Do, which is actually a remake of the Isley Brothers, and her version is really good. I had heard that, but it had been years. And so I listened to it again. I'm like, oh, this is a bop. So I was jamming to that. I listened to Nivea. You guys remember Nivea? She came up with Don't Mess With My Man and Okay. That used to be my tune back in the day. But I listened to her song called Complicated. It's a slow song, little, you know, slow jam. It's a bop. Next, I listened to the Stylistics, old school. Stop, Look, Listen to Your Heart. I mean, it's a Stylistics. It's a Stylistics. That lead singer with that voice, that soprano. Oh, he can sing. And then lastly, y'all don't laugh, I listened to Project Pat. Ooh, it is real ratchet. Take the Charge, and then a song called Choose You. I like Project Pat. I like them with these 3-6 Mafia. I mean, I like Project Pat. I like them little hood Southern rappers. Some Southern, if y'all listen to some Southern rap, it will get you all the way together, because they can rap in them beats. Them beats be off the chain. So yeah, don't sleep on Project Pat, okay? So, okay, lastly, movies. So I did a good job with the movies. I had a little Lana Turner obsession. So I watched Imitation of Life, the 1959 version with Lana Turner. Loved the movie. I hadn't seen it in so long. Oh girl, I really love that movie. I like that one in particular. I didn't know when I was watching it. I thought Sarah Jane's dad was white, like fully white. If you watch it in the beginning, when they, you know, meet obviously at the lake or beach, she said, oh, Sarah Jane's father could pass as white. He was, you know, white as anybody. So I thought she was like biracial, like a black mom and a white dad. No, Sarah Jane actually was full black. So you know that daddy looked like, girl. He looked like a white man. So yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, I watched that. Next, I watched Madam X, which is again, Lana Turner's in that movie. That movie just, oh my goodness. It's about a woman named Holly. I don't even know if you can consider it an affair, but back in the day they would. Her husband travels a lot. He's a politician, and she starts to see a man, and not even see, she just like goes to dinner with him. And her mother-in-law can't stand her anyway, because she comes from, the family's really wealthy, and Holly came from kind of humble beginnings. She worked as like a shop girl. That's what her mother-in-law says. So her mother-in-law has her followed, and she tells like her lover that she can't, you know, see him again or whatever, and that she's moving. And he's like, I'm in love with you. And then he what does he do? Oh, he accidentally like falls down the stairs and he dies. So her mother-in-law was like, well, I can protect you, but what you have to do is you have to fake your death, and you have to leave your husband and your son. And she does that, and you see her life, and Lord, her life is trouble. Oh my goodness. Now with these 1950s, 1960s movies, they have cliffhangers that will drive you insane. This had a major cliffhanger. I would urge you guys to see it. It will frustrate you because it's like, come on. But the fact that she had to leave her husband and her baby, oh Lord, it was when she had to leave her baby. And Lana Turner was an amazing actress. And she should have got an Academy Award for that. If you watch that, she transformed. I mean, girl, yes. Okay. So next I watched actually a TV show, Abbott Elementary. I had never watched it, and after Shirley Ralph, yes, the original Dream Girl, after she won her Emmy, which she highly deserved, I said I gotta watch it, and she is my favorite out of that show. I love Barbara Howard. Yes, such a good show. I binge watched the whole first season, and I actually yesterday watched the second season. It just premiered last month, so I'm caught up such a good show. It's also too, it's realistic. You know, I come from a family of teachers. I was raised by two teachers, and they taught in the Flint school systems, and there was no money, you know, in that school system. So, and like I can actually kind of well, I can say relate because I went to a predominantly white school. You already know. We had everything. But just hearing those conversations, I could, you know, uh relate because my aunt say, you know, had that about being overcrowded, not having funding, about having to come out of their own pocket. So yeah, but that story, that, excuse me, that TV show is amazing. And then lastly, I watched a documentary, a James Baldwin documentary. It's actually on, I watched it on YouTube. It's, their channel's name is Right Like. I'll link it down below. I love that channel because those documentaries just be hitting. So yeah, I watched that because after reading The Three Mothers, I wanted to know just a little bit more about James Baldwin, and his life was just fantastic. Such a brilliant writer, such a brilliant individual, and I'm so glad that there has been a resurgence of James Baldwin's works, because he needs to be out there. And he's one, I always say, when I read his works, his fictional and nonfiction books, I always feel like intellectual, because he just knows how to, not only does he know how to write, but he makes you feel so proud to be a Black individual. And yeah, if you want to feel like the smartest person in the world, read a James Baldwin book, because he will make you feel that way. So yeah, guys, that's all I have when it comes to my wrap up in September. I read a lot, watched a lot. Oh, I also want to mention, a lot of you guys have been asking me about t-shirts, where I get them from. Shameless plug, I actually have a Unsung Black on Bonfire. I have some merch available for a short period of time in the month of October. There, I'll pop up a picture. I have some t-shirts, some and a crew neck. So guys, pick those up. And then also too, here are some that I wanted to show you. A lot of my shirts, I get them from a store called City Trend. So this one, you guys know, it's Whitney Houston. I got it from City Trend. I have this BT one, and all these are men's section. I always get them from the men's. This one is my latest one, my Kid and Play. And then this one I actually got from Jimmy Jazz. And this is the wire. So yeah, City Trend is the way to go when it comes to t-shirts. And then this came from Five Below. So yeah, you guys know I love t-shirts. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my merch. Like I said, it'll only be available for a limited amount of time. And that's all I have for you guys. So I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.